Good afternoon, Helen. It's our great pleasure to have you here for this interview. So first of all, would you like to say something to the audience and introduce yourself?
My name is Helen Sham Ho, He沈慧霞. I came to Australia over 50 years ago. I came from Hong Kong. I was born there until high school. I did my high school here for the last 2 years. After my high school, I did my university. After that, I met my husband and I got married and I became a social worker in the late 60s. I was trained as a medical social worker and then, of course, I changed profession. At the same time, I did my law degree. I graduated in Macquarie University and did my law degree and I practiced as a lawyer, actually at Cabramatta. And I practiced there for a couple of years before I became a member of parliament. I was elected in 1988, and I was the first Chinese member of parliament. So far in history, there were not any member of parliament who were elected into a parliament. So I was very proud and very pleased with myself, and everybody was happy for me. I was pre-selected by the Liberal Party at that stage. That was the early part. I was in parliament for 4 terms. I became independent in 1998 from the Liberal Party.
So that's 10 years after you went into politics.
Yes, definitely, over 10 years. But I left and I didn't win for another election because as an independent, it's much harder to be elected because normally, as I know it, most members of parliament of ethnic backgrounds like Chinese or Italian or Greek, they are all a member of political parties.
Have you ever go through any kind of hard time in your political life?
It's very tough, particularly for women and a Chinese woman at that. And in the early days, over 25 years ago. In those days, there was not a lot of Chinese, not a lot of women in parliament anyway. And my English, I think, is quite fluent, or definitely fluent. They look at me as my English is not good enough. If I may say so, I have to perform better to be equal. You know, seriously. I really have to work harder than they are to say that, look, I'm doing my job.
You mentioned you have been here for 4 terms. What would you think about these 4 terms?
When you are actually in parliament, there's no guidelines. There's nothing you can refer to. Member of parliament is supposed to be a voice of the people. So you are as equal as anybody else. Maybe some people are more experienced, that kind of thing, but all the same, you are very much your own boss. I learned a lot as an independent because there's no other support I can get from my party. Fortunately for me, I become the balance of power. So if you ask me, what was my achievement in parliament was my policing report, which I tabled in 2001, and I started an inquiry on police resources in Cabramatta. That was really the pinnacle of my achievement in parliament because it had, after the inquiry, the government have actually adopted 19 out of the 23 recommendation we made. The police was given some extra necessary power to carry out their duty because of my report. So I was very pleased about that.
You mentioned 19 of the 23. That's quite a high rate. I mean,
it's very high in any inquiries adoption of recommendation.
So let's move on to the next one, which is we want you to tell us a little bit about politics. Political system in Australia, because a lot of Chinese people don't understand really well about that. So, given the history of yours, so you're in the politics for a long time, and I think you're the best one to tell us these.
Briefly, anyway, of course, we have three layer of government, which is a local government, the state, which I belong to, the state parliament, and a federal parliament. We had to start, in fact, explaining is from the beginning of our country. We started with 1900 1900. But before that, it is historical facts that why it's called federation is at this time with 6 states. At that stage, of course, they have a lot of conferences and things to agree, or different states join together, become federation, become federal government. But in the old days, the state right is very important. And that's why they have the Senate. The senators is supposed to look after the state rights, actually, which is usually called the upper house. And the lower house is the House of Representatives, which is, again, from different states, of course, and they represent the local electorate. Different states have different numbers, depending on the number of people in that electorate. So from time to time, they change the boundaries of the electorate. And also, the historical fact I must mention is, what is the state, why is the state, and what is their function? The function depends on they call head of powers. They have 52 heads of powers at the federation time that the state surrender to federal government. For example, people would know this. Immigration, for example, is a federal issue, it's a federal function. Trade, for example, because it is international. Of course, we have our trade minister too as a state, but normally there's like foreign affairs, those like usually trade, defense, all those like coinage, marriage, that kind, 52 anyway, is belong to the federal government. The local government, people will be surprised to find, they don't make laws. Make laws is only for federal and state government. So that is how it is divided. And all the councillor, all the state member and the federal member are elected.
What's your suggestion for Chinese here to go into politics?
Now we are Chinese Australian. I think China is my father's family. It's my father, my mother. Where I come from, I can't renounce it because they give birth to me. I take Australia as husbands or spouse or partner, where you're committed to them. So of course I want the two family to be friendly, because I'm yes, and get on well, of course, and I want them to be both strong and healthy, and become very friendly. Of course, I would like more Chinese to be elected as a member of parliament, because after all, we are part of Australia, and Australia is a democratic society. It should be represented by all walks of life, all background, all religious group, right? So Chinese is a big group. More so, they should be participating. But I think the person himself or herself have to have some background in terms of experience. It is important that you have some life experience and work experience. And also, I do think the character of the person is very important. Member of Parliament is supposed to represent people, and you should have the ethics, and a good character. I'm just saying that the person must be knowledgeable, must be interested, must be committed. So that is kind of thing that I like to tell people. They should be interested in politics, come and try, become a member, but have some thought about why you want to get there and how you get there. When you get there, what can you do for the community?
All right, yeah. I mean, thank you for this doing this interview with us.
It's my pleasure. It's a good thing that I can express my feelings and my experience.
Yeah, very well expressed.
Hardly, thank you.
Thank you.